Riders, welcome back to Sans Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes. And this week, e-talk, we have Jon Jurgens, a 50-year-old xBmxer rocking out on his Levo SL. A few weeks ago, the Instagram algorithms were doing their thing, and up popped this great photo of Jon doing an epic tabletop over a massive tabletop. I reached out to Jon to see if I could share that photo on my Instagram feed, and he said yes, and it was eWhip of the week a couple of weeks ago. I got talking to Jon over the messenger on Instagram, and I kind of thought that he was a very interesting person to have on eTalk. He has just spent a fair amount of cash on his Levo SL, which is heavily upgraded. So we have a chat about why he bought it, how he likes it, if he'd buy it again if he was given the cold hard cash in his pocket, and loads more. But before we get into eTalk, we have to thank the official sponsor once again, Ride Concept Shoes. And this week's feature is the Red Powerline, the Sam's Bikes Red Powerline. I've been rocking the Powerline as my flat pedal enduro shoe for I would say about a month and a half, 2 months now, and it is amazing. Great traction. I love the D30 protection here, amazing. The sole is really good with its micro adjusting, and they just look the business. So riders, if you are thinking about buying your next riding shoe, definitely check out a Ride Concept. And a massive shout out to Ride Concept for supporting the channel. And now into eTalk with Jon. I hope you riders enjoy it. So Jon, welcome to the channel and thank you for your time.
No, of course, Sam. It's great meeting you.
And you too. Look, when I saw those photos on Instagram of you jumping that massive tabletop, man, I had to get in touch. How old are you, Jon?
I'm 50 years old.
On an e-bike and jumping that well with that much style, I'm
honest,
very.
I still got a lot to learn. I still got a lot.
Hey, Jon, the photo that we're talking about will be up here, so everyone's going to see it.
Okay. I mean, it's just, you know, guys, sometimes photos make you look a lot better than you really are.
He's another modest one. Another modest one. All right, man, tell me, how did you start? What's your background in bike riding?
Background in bike riding goes all the way back to as a kid. Obviously, like most kids, BMX was really my first really introduction to bicycle riding, getting serious about it. When I say serious, meaning like really getting excited about it. So I rode BMX. My brother and I both raced for a short time. We also rode motorcycles, like motocross mostly. And I was really into it. To be honest, BMX was really like my thing. That was truly like my passion. Like if I had some free time, you'd always find me on my BMX bike.
So now you have owned the SL for what, 6 months, a year?
You know, I've owned that SL for probably, I'm going to say 3 months now, maybe 3 months.
Okay.
As you know, especially in the United States, maybe you don't know, but in the United States, bikes there became really, for the last 6 months, I think it's still really tough, but the inventory and getting new bikes is actually really challenging. I waited for a while to get this one because everything was out of stock. And so, yeah, I got it about 3 months ago. I was lucky enough to get it.
And have you put many kilometers on it or miles on it?
Yeah. Actually, you sent me a couple questions, and so I had to go do the conversion. But yeah, 280 miles, which equals about 450 kilometers so far.
Not bad, not bad. Obviously, you're a rider from way back. What is in your garage right now?
So in my garage right now, I have the SL is the newest bike that I have. I have a road bike. I have a Specialized tarmac road bike. I have my favorite bike is probably my downhill bike. I have a Trek Session 29er. Then I have a dirt jumper that's really dusty. I haven't ridden that thing in a long time.
So what made you consider to make the plunge into the nasty world of e-bikes?
I think I was like a lot of people like today where they kind of make fun of e-bikes a little bit. Like a lot of people are having a hard time really understanding e-bikes without actually riding them. I think what they assume is much different than what it really is. And I was one of those guys. I was definitely like, oh, that's a boomer bike. I'm not getting one of those. Like, you know what I mean? They're kind of nerdy. And I still believe it kind of like, I don't know, a while back they kind of were, but not now. um, like I said, I was lent one just to try it out, to hang out with some other guys on e-bikes, and I kind of I got it really fast. I mean, it didn't take much for me to go, okay, I get it. I was completely wrong. Um, you know, so that's really, and again, I was waiting for a bike, and then this thing came along, and now I'm glad with this decision. I'm glad I didn't get the Enduro, even though Enduro is a pretty sweet bike.
That's super interesting, because I actually thought I must have misread the messages that we were speaking about. I thought you had both. I thought you had the SL and the Enduro, and but no, that's. I mean, I think the SL is. I found the SL to be an absolute downhill weapon. Like, it's not a massive downhill bike, but it's definitely not a trail bike. I kind of find it's in that enduro area. I find it handles the big trails really well.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me, I've taken it on the same trails I take my downhill bike on, which is, I'll be honest, mostly bike park type stuff, just to see if I can, how well it felt, and then just to adjust the suspension and whatnot. And I was immediately like, this could be a one bike. You know, it could be
It's a very capable bike. There's always a list of 3 bikes when you're buying the bike. So what were the other 3 bikes that you were looking at?
All right. So as I said, it's happened fairly quickly. And having like bikes being out of stock, it gave me a little bit of time, so I didn't have to pull a trigger immediately. I could do some research. And to be honest, that's where I came across your channel. Is a lot of the stuff that I was looking at. I It's kind of strange, but I really actually, my first instinct is look at how good the bike looks, and if I think the bike actually looks kind of cool, then that will spawn me to get interested. If the bike doesn't really look cool, then I'm not quite as interested. And at the time, I really thought the YT was like kind of like the best looking bike out there. And so I started doing a ton of research, and that's how I came across your channel. And you had like very extensive reviews, and I saw the way you rode or whatnot. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of like me. Like, that's how I like to ride. This is kind of like some of the stuff, and some of the stuff that you show is capability. So I'd say I started with the YT, and then Specialized was always there, because because I did a test ride on the SL. And then I think, before pulling the trigger, because this costs a lot of money, is I was thinking like, well, maybe I wait for that Canyon. I think it's called a Canyon Spectral. Is that the new one?
Spectral on, yeah, it's a nice bike.
Yeah, that was a good looking bike.
Yep.
It just so happened that the SL was really just me. And again, I didn't get it for fitness. I just got it because it felt more like a bike to me. I'm finding myself like riding more. I'm finding myself like, I don't know. I mean, like last weekend, I got cabin up in the mountains, up in Big Bear, and the bike park closed, but the trails are still there. And I found myself like, hey, I got a spare hour. My family.
Go up.
I gotta find time here and there, but I got a spare hour or so. I'm just gonna climb back up and just go session some of those jumps on that trail and have some fun, and then just jam back home. I would have never done that on just a regular analog bike, because it would take an hour to get to the top, at my pace.
No, definitely the same with me. Like, I had a few analog bikes, and then I got my e-bike, and it would be like a Thursday or a Friday afternoon, long day at work, and then basically it was like, oh, should I go for a ride? Shouldn't I go for a ride? And on the e-bike, there's no question, I'm going for a ride. Like, I'm just always out there riding, because it's not. So the first, I think you will agree, and every rider will agree, the hardest part on a bike ride is to get out the front door.
Yeah.
Once you get out the front door, your body starts warming up, you get into it, and it's kind of like, all right, I'm down. But leaving the house is the hard part.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean,
So are you happy?
I am actually. I'm extremely happy.
Yeah.
And also about this bike too, is like, because I'm sure some of your viewers, like probably be in the same situation I am too. I have some of my buddies that have full e-bikes, but then I have a ton of group of buddies that just aren't sold on e-bikes yet, and so they still have regular bikes.
Yep.
And I love riding with those guys as well. And this bike, to be honest with you, is like perfect for both of that. Like, if I go ride with the guys on the regular bikes, I don't have to go above trail mode. Mostly, like sometimes it's just eco mode, and we can all hang out.
Yep.
You still have a good time. And then when I go with the guys that have like the full Levos, yeah, they have to go down to trail mode, and I have to put this in the turbo for a big portion of it, but we
Yep.
can still hang out. So it's
Yeah.
like that bike that kind of like bridges both of them. That's not necessarily 100% why I bought it, but that was part of the decision. I mean, really, what it came down to was like the ride. And then the bike just feels like a bike, has short chain stays. So if you're into like manualing and things like that, it feels just a good old trail enduro bike.
No, it does. Like I ride my SL at my local trails, and I ride that thing so hard. Like it's just so much fun. I can pre-jump into like drops.
Yeah.
Like on a big bike, I'm like, no, I'll just drop in. No, no. On this bike, I'm jumping out and dropping into the drops. I'm just like, it's for me, I love it. But yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
you
it's
need to
super.
work. Yeah,
Yeah, it's super agile, right? Like you can just bunny hop off any little thing. Like you can throw the
um,
bike just yeah. That's what I love about the thing.
how tall are you?
I am just shy of 6 foot.
6 foot, so that would be about 180 centimeters, more or less.
I probably should have converted that,
That's all
but
right. I would say 6 foot would be around 180, 182 centimeters. So
okay.
I would guess that you're on a large.
I am on a large.
Yep. And how did you find the fit of the large?
To be honest with you, for me, I actually ride an XL. I ride an XL for my downhill bike. I just like a little bit bigger bike.
Yep.
But on the trail to get things like the large is perfect. I think
Yep.
it's actually kind of I think it's the perfect size large. It's not too long. Some of these bikes get really long and slack for the size.
Stupidly long. Yeah, yeah.
I think this is actually true to size for a trail bike. For me, I didn't want to go too big on a trail bike because I think like you want to have fun. You want to have that agility. You need to like I'm not the kind of rider that just points it and goes from point A to B. I'm trying to find things that have fun along the trail and whatnot. And I think the bike like that, this size is perfect. Again, it feels a little smaller than my downhill bike, but for the trail, it's perfect.
I could not agree with you more. So I was looking at the sizing, and you and I are very similar sizes. I'm 183 centimeters, which would be about 6 foot, and I was looking, and I'm pretty much right in between a large and an extra large.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? It's a trail bike. I wanna bring it back a little bit. I don't want a really long bike. I
Yeah.
With the short change days with the SL, I want a short wheelbase. Like I just want to be able to move in and out of those corners fast. And when I first hopped on it, I was like, hmm, it feels a little bit small. But I'm just so used to riding a big bike. And after a day riding, I was like, no, no, this is for a trail bike. This is the perfect size. I personally think a lot of us are riding bikes that are too big for us now because it's a trend.
Yeah. Well, because I think everything's a completely race geometry, like, right? If
Yeah.
you're going, if you guys are gonna race this thing, I'd probably go up a size to be honest with you, but that's not what I bought it for. I bought it just to have fun, put miles on it.
What is the best and worst thing about the Levo SL?
All right, so the best thing, I said it a million times already, but it feels like a real bike. It just feels like a bike. Like if you have a specialized stump jumper and you get on this thing, you're from a geometry and going downhill, it's gonna feel exactly the same. That's what's amazing about it. Like you don't really feel the weight. Yeah, it weighs a little more than a stump jumper, but you really don't feel the weight. They're pretty smart on how they put it in there. And again, the bike's pretty light for a new bike. Um, Now, obviously, you feel the difference going up a hill because you get the pedal assist. So I'd say overall, just it's like it feels like a bike. So if you want something that feels like a bike, I think the SL's. I mean, yeah, I think it's the perfect bike. Um, the worst things about the bike, you buy these bikes. At least this one I bought complete. And the price tag from Specialized always is a little bit higher than other bikes. And so you kind of get stuck with some of the components they put on there. And they're great components, like, but I'm not a big SRAM fan. I'm more of a Shimano fan. So this bike came with SRAM. So I'd say that's probably the worst thing.
Yeah.
Instead of the SRAM, I'm not a big fan of the brakes. They work. Don't get me wrong. I'm not changing them. I'm not going to spend any more money on swapping out like the drivetrain and anything like that. But I do wish at that price point that they give you an option between a SRAM and a Shimano.
For me, it is an interesting fact that in 2021, some of the specialized Levos, not the SLs, the Levos have started coming with Shimano group sets, and also with Shimano brakes, 4-piston brakes. And in my opinion, it's a no-brainer. I don't understand why they're using those brakes. I hate you've got codes, I would imagine, on your bike, no?
I can't remember the exact ones, but I
Or,
think yeah,
or
it's
guide or codes or whatever. But yeah, I've had those brakes on a lot of bikes, and they're not the best brakes, definitely not. But they do work, but not my most favorite.
I think there's a preference. I know some guys that love SRAM stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the preference what you're used to. And like me, like I said, I like the Shimano stuff a little better. I like the Shimano. I don't know. Like I said, I think some of these bikes at this price point, they should give you the option. Hey,
Right.
at this, you can get the AXS like SRAM stuff, or you get the STR stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm confused. But
Definitely agree. And I have obviously, I featured your bike on eWhip of the Week. And so tell me about your upgrades, because it's quite extensive. You have in my opinion, one of the best looking Levo SLs on the market.
oh, well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's actually that extent. So I have the S Works, the 2020 S Works Levo SL, size large. And when I got the bike, it came with a 34. Now because I got an email, but I saw that they just this year for the 2021 actually put a Fox 36 on the front.
They did.
Mine came with the Fox 34 with
Yeah.
150 millimeter travel.
Yeah.
And I demoed this bike before I bought it, and I didn't really like that fork. So I knew right out of the gate I was going to swap that out.
Too flexy.
Yeah, it just seemed too flex. It also just, I mean, also I weigh what I didn't turn that into kilos, but I weigh about 192 pounds.
Yeah.
And so I just think the fork was under forked. I have a feeling Specialized did that just to make sure to keep the weight down on these bikes and could claim, how light these bikes really are. But it came with a 34, and it came with I don't know what you call it. What's that shock that doesn't have the reservoir? The Fox shock that it's like is it just
The crap one.
yeah. So it came with those things. I knew right away that's what I was going to swap out. The fork
Yeah.
came in first, so I put the fork on it,
Yeah.
and that had a huge difference. Like I also went to 160 travel on that instead of the 150.
Yep.
So I think I don't know I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it definitely rakes out the front a little bit more, makes it
Probably like 0.5 millimeter or something like that. Yeah.
or half a degree or something. I don't know, but it definitely it just sitting there you could tell the difference. But it didn't really put the seat too far back. And then I waited, and I got I went with a DPX2. I think that's what they call it, the DPX.
Yeah. I've got that shock. It's a good shock.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have an X2 on my session, and I just thought it was going to be a little overkill for this bike for me. And what I read and what I kind of found, like what I found was that this is a little poppier. Might not have quite as much, setting. They don't have quite as many settings, so you can't tune it quite as well. But it has a little poppier feel than X2.
Yeah.
I went with that one. So yeah, going back to your question, I upgraded the fork. I went to a Fox 36, 160, and then the rear I went to that DPA. Was it DPX2?
DPX2. Yep.
I went to that. Obviously switched out the cockpit. For the cockpit, went rental. Went with a shorter stem, 35 millimeter stem, and then rental bars.
Yeah.
Rider, they're at like 780.
Yeah. 780 probably. Yeah.
Yeah. And what else did I switch out? I think that's really it. To be honest with you,
Let's. I mean, it's a nice looking bike. If you had your hard, cold cash again right now in your pocket, would you buy the same bike?
I would. Yeah, I think 100%. Like I said, I think I just saw. I think it was you that actually reviewed it. The Orbea came out with one very similar, but I think I'm sold on more of these like lighter weight, less powered e-bikes for right now.
Yep.
Um, I think yeah. So I actually love this bike. I do. And I'm looking forward to this winter. Now the lift services are all our ski resorts are shut down, so now I actually have to pedal to the top of the hill. I'm like really looking forward to putting a lot more miles on this thing this winter.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Uh,
And so if you were on a part of the specialized production team and you could help them do like the next model of the SL, what changes would you do,
um,
if any?
yeah, that's a tough one. So I think it goes back to I was really attracted to the specialized enduro. Just not only like all those specs behind that, but just sort of looks awesome. Just a clean looking bike. I would say like version 2 of the SL, if maybe they could take some of that enduro, the new enduro with the lower linkage, the lower like all that stuff. If they could put this motor onto an enduro, I think that would be the ultimate bike. I really do. I think that would finally be the one and only bike.
Uh, I
At least for me.
think
At least for me.
I think you're getting there very much to what I was thinking. I already think the SL is a pretty capable enduro bike. Like if you know how to ride a bike, the SL is a great bike. But
Yep.
if they give it a little bit more travel, just to like a little bit more travel, and make that, I don't really even mind about the lower linkage. I don't really care. The kinematics is perfect. I reckon if they can make the SL, the SL Evo 170, 160, that is the bike, man. Like whatever they call it, the enduro or the Levo SL Evo.
Or
That
maybe Levo LT, like Levo long travel. I don't
Yeah, that would be the bike.
know. Let me ask you some questions then.
Definitely.
Because I noticed, and again, I've just gotten into like owning an e-bike for 3 months, right? I just for your viewers, like, because a lot of them might be similar to me. Time is somewhat of a factor. Like, how much time do I actually have? I got a daughter and a wife. I try making sure that I balance everything, but and they've been awesome. Like they understand like I'm in a much better mood after I go ride and whatnot too. So
Yeah.
but for me, honestly, the e-bike was like, hey, how can I get out there and get to the fun stuff that I like as quick as I can, and in many cases, how can I loop it a couple times, like not necessarily sessioning, but like going through and like looping things and just enjoying what I like real quick. But I also have other buddies that have a lot more time, and they're more into like the adventure. You know what I mean? Like really spending all day and getting way out there where most people won't go on normal bikes. It takes too long, and they can do
Yeah.
it much quicker. I haven't really experienced that quite that yet.
Yeah.
Uh, and and so my question to you is like, what like from an e-bike, what type of rider do you what type of rides do you like to do? You like to get out there like farther, or is it something like me where you just want to get out quick and like get some stuff done?
Look, I mean, my background is professional photography, and I still have my photography company here in Spain, and my wife is running it right now because I've gone full time into YouTube, and I'm really trying to make it work. Fingers crossed it does work. Um, But my rides generally are 2 to 3 hours, and I like to go and session nice downhills, nice places to ride, and I'm not really into the fitness aspect of it. I really want to go and have fun and get the adrenaline going in my body. But at the same time, with the YouTube channel, it's making me do, and it sounds bad, but it's not. it's not a bad thing. It's like it's making me explore other things because I have to make these videos. In my
Yeah.
I like next week or the week after, I'm going to do a bike packing trip for 3 or 4 days. The whole of Madrid, so the whole of Spain has closed its borders between the states. So California would be, closed to another state.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ride around the whole of Madrid on the
Wow.
border with my bike, with my e-bike, my Levo, but I'm going to spec out the bike with 2.1 tires, a bike pack, but I'll be sort of what I say glam packing. I'll be staying in hotels, eating at
Yeah.
restaurants, but trying to explore and learn how to ride that style because I know that we have the extreme style of riding that obviously you and I like to do, but there's such a massive range between each, every style, and I think every part of mountain biking is amazing, and I want to experience it all. And I've never done bike packing, so that's something I'm going to do definitely in the next couple of weeks. And but for me, definitely the most fun I can have is riding up for an hour and then smashing back down.
Yeah. And then SL, that's obviously your bike. Is that the bike you choose then?
The Levo SL
Yeah, the Levo
for
SL.
that.
Like when you're that type of riding, what's the bike you go to? Your go-to bike?
Uh, No, for the Levo SL, no, I wouldn't choose that bike. I actually have a Commensal coming in about 2 weeks, a Commensal SX, which is a 180, 165, 27. I'm a xBmxer like you. Uh, I'm not a big, I like the 29ers, but I think I'm more happier on a 27 because it's not about the speed for me, it's about the fun.
Yeah.
And so I would say if I had an hour, I would like to be on a full fat e-bike,
Okay.
and I would like to be with a big 170, 180 sort of e-bike and just be sessioning big jumps, big downhills and fun stuff.
All right. Um, yeah, no, no, I'm just like I said, I got buddies that go out for half a day, and it's awesome. I watch them on Strava. I see where they've gone, and it's amazing. How much distance they can climb. How much distance they can go, and yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to really kind of seeing how far I can actually take this bike. As far as the more distant stuff.
Did you
Uh,
did you get the extender?
I did. It comes with the extend on this particular model comes with the extender.
Oh yeah.
Um,
What type of range are you getting right now without the extender?
Without the extender, mostly it was just like in trail mode. Let's just say I'm in trail mode. And let's just say I'm trying to just think of some of the stats on like my Strava. Probably, I think without the extender, I think I'm getting around 4,000 feet of climbing and say 30 miles.
Okay.
Something
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that seems about right.
that.
I
On trail. I mean, on trail.
Yeah. I
And then
found it very, very similar to a full fat e-bike, like a full-fledged e-bike, like a Levo, with a 500-watt battery. So
yeah,
around it's similar.
yeah. And so like I said, some of the guys that have that regularly us, um, we've gone for rides, and like I said, they're in trail. I'm in turbo, and we, yeah, they still have plenty of battery life done when I'm done, but we still get like a pretty good 3 hour ride in that, and that's pretty fast paced.
Yeah, and I'm not. I'm a massive mountain bike fan, but I don't. I'm not. So I don't like riding more than 3 hours. I kind of get a little bit bored. Not bored. I just kind of like get tired, and like I like the more aggressive, like 2.5 hour ride. Get up there, get the job done, go
Yeah.
home, and that's sort of my thing. I've never really felt I need more battery. I like to go and do the ride and then come back, and it's done.
Yeah. Well, I will say there's only like in the 3 months I only had 2 rides. One where I didn't take the battery extender and I pretty much depreciated it, but I still made it back.
Yep.
And the other one I had the battery extender. I pretty much depreciated both, but I still made it back. All the other rides I maybe used half the battery, if that.
Yep.
You know, just to jam out there and whatnot.
And the last question would be, what is the best thing that you have bought in the last 12 months for mountain biking? And it can't be a bike.
You mean just components?
Like it can be a component, it can be anything but not a bike. Accessories, cush core.
Yeah, I'll go back to suspension. I think for me, the suspension is the most important. I think you gotta get all bikes come with suspension. Just make sure that like the suspension, understand what you want to do with the bike, and make sure the suspension matches that. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? I think I think some people go too big on their suspension, and that's not even the type of riding they're going to do. And I think they're going to waste a lot of effort and a lot of money. I think some people could benefit from actually, stepping up on suspension. So I think it's really like trying to understand like what your riding style is, what you really want to do, and don't go after like what's marketed to you. You know what I mean? Just because something's newer and bigger, I don't think you necessarily have to get that. You know what I mean?
John, thank you so much for your time, man. Do you have any questions or anything you want to say?
No, I really appreciate having me on this. I mean, it was nice. I hit you up on Instagram about some stuff or whatnot, but I will say that you were very instrumental on like on my research of deciding to go e-bike. The decoy is when I started watching you and seeing your type of riding and whatnot, and honestly convinced me like, okay, you know what? If there's a lot of guys out there doing this type of stuff, like, not just trying to put on like 100 miles or whatever, like actually challenging themselves. Like I said, you are a big influence, and I really appreciate the effort that you put in your channel, because I think it does help a lot of people.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, my hat's off to you. I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on.
No, thank you so much, man. And if we have any questions on the SL, we're going to hit you up, because what I want to do with the channel is I want to create, there's no hierarchy here. We're all riders. And look, if I have or any of the riders have any questions on the SL, we're going to hit you up, if that's all right, John.
Dude, absolutely. Like I said, I'm still learning.
We're always learning. Always learning.
Yeah, I will say, like, I'm not a technical rider. I'm trying to get much better at being more of a technical, chunk type rider. My buddies leave me in the dust on that stuff. So as I'm learning, I'll let you know what I find out on that as well.
No, definitely. Well, thank you so much. And riders, that's it from us. If you have any questions on this episode with myself or John, put the messages in the comments below and we will get them answered. And stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.